evening and welcome to tonight's regional news. We now begin with a story from Venezuela. Venezuela's Navy on Tuesday broke up 3 human trafficking camps on the country's Orinca Delta and rescued 79 people, including 25 minors, whom they said were being trafficked to criminal gangs in Trinidad and Tobago. The Armada Bolivariana said a patrol in the Orinca River Delta, a vast jungle and river area, intercepted an illegal operation dedicated to human trafficking and also arrested 39 individuals and seized 2 boats. Tuesday's raids comes amid reports of a major human trafficking network operating between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. According to reports, boats transporting sex trafficking victims to Trinidad and Tobago earned between $3,000 and $12,000 US per trip. Most are teenage girls and young women from coastal communities, a National Assembly report said. A 2019 Trafficking in Persons report designated Trinidad and Tobago as a Tier 2 country and said traffickers operating there are increasingly targeting vulnerable foreign young women and girls between the ages of 15 and 21. There has been a large influx of Venezuelans to Trinidad and Tobago in recent years, and about 24,000 are believed to be in Trinidad and Tobago currently. Still in Trinidad and Tobago, a group of 10 Trinidad and Tobago nationals, including a 2-year-old girl, stranded in Guyana as countries around the world locked down borders to prevent the spread of COVID-19, is anxious to return home to Trinidad and Tobago. The group was granted approval to re-enter the country, but the TNT government is yet to give authorization to the travel agency to bring them home. A representative is pleading with the National Security Minister, Stuart Young, to complete the process and allow them to return home. A letter from the Office of the High Commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago in Jamaica stated that permission had been given to the group by the COVID Task Force of Guyana to travel via the Eugene F. Correa Airport at Ogle using Trans-Guyana Airways. The spokesperson for the group, who asked not to be named, said, I quote, "We don't want no trouble, we just want to come home to our families, that's all. We're paying for a chartered flight, we don't want the government to pay it for us, and we don't mind getting quarantined," end of quote. Speaking at a Ministry of Health media conference on May 8, Young said Trinidad and Tobago nationals in Guyana and Venezuela would be allowed to return home. He said, however, they will have to make their own flight arrangements as the government will not incur the costs of their return. And finally, in tonight's regional news, Caribbean Community CARICOM countries will adopt measures that will ensure the safety of their citizens as well as tourists as they prepare to reopen their borders post-coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley said Tuesday. Mottley, who is the chair of CARICOM, told the BBC World Service that regional countries whose economies are highly dependent on the tourism industry have been severely affected by the virus that was first detected in China last December and blamed for more than 340,000 deaths and 5.5 million infections worldwide. Mottley said, I quote, "We are not going to be driven by a date, we are going to be driven by protocols that make us safe because we want to remain safe for our people. We want to remain safe for people who are visiting us, and this is not only Barbados' position, but a number of countries within the Caribbean community," end of quote. Mottley added that she's hoping that the tourism sector would become functional within weeks rather than months, but she said, I quote, "We need to make sure that we touch all the bases," end of quote. Mottley said that the pandemic has significantly affected the revenues of governments in the region, noting that, I quote, "Across the entire region, you see April will probably be a month where anywhere between 40 to 60% of government revenues have been affected in tourism-dependent countries. We have also recognized that the unemployment rates in most cases in countries that are tourism-dependent have gone from double to treble in some instances," end of quote. And that was all for tonight's regional news. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.